Welcome back to the Ripewave audio community, where we explore together all types of home audio systems from hi-fi to home theater. My name is John, and for this video we will continue our top AV processor separates under $5,000 series which support immersive audio formats for at least 12 channels. For part 3, we are focusing on the connectivity which these processors support. If you missed part 1, where we outline the main criteria for channels, format support, and room calibration, or part 2, where we examine the DACS these processors utilize, I have provided the links for your convenience in the description. For those that viewed the other parts, you are aware that we are researching AV processors so Ripewave Audio can make a more educated decision when we replace our 5.1 channel Sony TAE 9000ES processor with a new immersive processor. As before, keep in mind that your criteria may be different, but use this content to help you make your own choices. The list of processors we are examining is a filtered down set from 144 models, 26 brands from the Ripewave Audio database. By setting the criteria for models under $5,000, which are immersive, separate, non-receivers, non-discontinued units, the pool of candidates dropped to 13 models from 9 brands: Anthem, Arcam, Emotiva, Lexicon, Marantz, McIntosh, Monoprice, Rotel, and Yamaha. While we made some initial picks, just based on channel count, format support, and aesthetics in part 1, and in part 2 we concluded that Emotiva had the edge with the differential design, which not only aids with noise reduction, also makes the most of the 16 AKM 4490 EQ DACS. However, we still have work to do before we make our conclusion. For part 3, we will get closer, but we will still have further analysis to review in part 4. Today's processors all provide some level of connectivity, even if it's only to download firmware updates. But many support additional functions for streaming services, connection to other rooms, speakers, sources, and user interfaces such as mobile devices, network servers, and streaming services, with Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth all being applied. For integration-based control, infrared, serial communications, and simple triggers are also being used. What we see is all processors here supporting a wired Ethernet connection. Aside from Monoprice, which advertises support for gigabit Ethernet, no other model states Ethernet speed. Certainly an important spec if any of these are to support streaming. For those that are only using it for configuration and control, Ethernet speed won't matter. Wi-Fi is getting to be more of an essential for processors as they move on from screen configuration to web-based interfaces. Yet it does not appear in McIntosh, Emotiva, or Rotel models. We won't know if Anthem supports Wi-Fi until more details are released for the new models. It can be more critical to know the Wi-Fi specification, so it is disappointing that not all vendors publish it in easily accessible resources. Albeit that hole is easily addressed by adding a switch with Wi-Fi capability and a wired connection to the processor. I, for one, would prefer a hardwired connection to critical components in the system, such as the processor. So Wi-Fi is not an important feature for me. Bluetooth support is more common, but McIntosh, Emotiva, and Lexicon don't appear to support. Now, it is easy to get a false sense of support when brand says there's support for Bluetooth. But you need to pay attention to the direction. Is it Bluetooth in or Bluetooth out? Most processors support Bluetooth only as an input, not an output. This means that Bluetooth can be used as a remote control user interface or to push streaming content, say from a mobile device like an iPhone. If you have Bluetooth headphones or speakers, you may be out of luck, as we only found support for outbound Bluetooth streaming with Marantz's latest model, the AV7706. Another challenge with Bluetooth is that these processors don't support the latest version 5 of Bluetooth standard, and each implementation is limited in the codecs they support. This means while they may still connect, it will find the least common denominator in codecs such as SBC, which is a lower quality and speed, versus AAC, which is used with iPhones, or aptX, more common in Android devices. Or better yet, what about Sony's LDAC, which is a high-quality codec? We see use of Bluetooth 4.2 at best here, using AAC or aptX, but not both in the same processor. Voice control is certainly deep into the global culture. Some love it, and some see it as a privacy risk. Alexa, Google, and Siri are the big three. There are also niche solutions like Josh, which is centered on the smart home market. As for these processors, we see Yamaha strongly supporting the big three, and Monoprice offering Alexa integration as a beta feature. While the Marantz AV8805 doesn't offer voice control, the AV7706 supports the big three, plus Josh. All models support protocol-based control via Ethernet and infrared, and most support RS-232-based integrations. These units all have some quantity of triggers, which is the simplest way to coordinate functions like commanding your components to turn on and turn off together. While the raw protocols and ports are available for remote control, most brands don't make specific claims as to which control solutions are compatible with their processors. Anthem goes the furthest by listing Control 4, Savant, RTI, Creston, Elan, and URC as all supported. Yamaha claims Control 4, RTI, and Elan, while Lexicon and Arcam both list IMAX as an example in their manual. Now, as an aside, the Lexicon and Arcam products are both Harman-owned, and it shows in their manuals, which appear very similar. It is likely the Arcam AV40 and the Lexicon MC10 share some technologies as well. Finally, Marantz begins to list a few with their AV7706 model, such as OVCC and Domat's Pro. Before we look at what HDMI capabilities each model has, let's review the HDMI standards to better understand what you get with each new publication. Shown on the table is the date of publication. While the latest HDMI standard, version 2.1, was published in 2017, before any of these processors were released, keep in mind it can take years for support to be rolled out, with support in available chips, the television, supporting products, especially if the change is significant, as with the 2.1 editions, which have taken around 3 years before making their way into products. Furthermore, it is possible to adopt some, but not all the features. So you will see, for example, HDMI 2.0 products with eARC support. as we will see with these processors. Therefore, there is some debate on how complete a feature set is required to be before support for HDMI 2.1 should be claimed. It seems that the tipping point is when 8K is added. As each model supports at least HDMI 2.0, we will focus on 2.0 up. As such, audio return channel ARC should be supported by all, as that was added to the 1.4 standard. What 2.0 added was additional audio and video streams. 2.0A added static HDR, and 2.0B added hybrid log gamma, HDL. With 2.1, bandwidth had to be significantly increased to 48 gigabytes per second in order to support 8K video. Other features, such as variable refresh rate and quick media switching, aid in the playback and performance. We are not aware of a device that fully supports all the capabilities enabled by HDMI 2.1 at this time. Most processors allow for at least 7 HDMI inputs, except for the McIntosh, which only has 4. Non-gamers may find that limit just fine. Input 1 for cable TV, 2 for the antenna, UHD player on 3, and a streaming device on 4. However, if you need to support game consoles, each one will use an additional input. So Nintendo Switch on input 5, Xbox on 6, PlayStation on 7. We feel 7 or 8 is about right for main theater rooms. It may be easier to get away with a single HDMI output to the TV, but having 1 or 2 additional outputs may be needed for multi-zone deployments. Keep in mind that advanced features like ARC and eARC are usually limited to a single output, and initial models with 8K support only support 8K on 1 input. As someone who cares about audio, eARC is preferred over ARC, as eARC is an uncompressed signal versus ARC, which is compressed. Each model supports the base 4K at 60 Hz signals. For 8K support and other improvements, the Marantz AV7706 stands alone and delivers more than their flagship AV8805, with support for 8K 60 Hz and 4K at 120 Hz. Now, albeit support with those models has not been flawless, as noted in our video with the HDMI 2.1 bug. The AV7706 is a clear standout, with video support checking the boxes for HDR10, Dolby Vision, IMAX Enhance, and hybrid log gamma. No model in this group claims support for Samsung's HDR 10 Plus format. However, if the signal is simply a pass-through, that might not be an issue. Our feeling on video formats is that we will like our next processor to at least have an upgrade path to HDMI 2.1. But support for it is not critical, as support is more important on the TV end. So HDMI 2.1 is a nice to have, given the limited content today, which is only available through the latest gaming platforms. Dolby Vision, which was announced in 2017, and IMAX Enhanced, announced 2018, are more likely to be needed. Our understanding of hybrid log gamma is that it is intended for live broadcast television and adoption has been slow, so that format may not be so critical either. Now, after 2 decades of HDMI evolution, causing everyone to want to update their equipment every 3 years, we are feeling that HDMI 2.1 is likely the version where we finally have stability, as 8K should be more than sufficient for the masses and years to come. The only problem that it hasn't happened quick enough to the market. It can be easy to confuse streaming technologies. To make it simpler on us, we divide streaming into 2 basic categories. One, how content is streamed to our homes, we label as internet streaming. And 2, how we're streaming content within our homes, we label as a streaming ecosystem. First, we will look at streaming ecosystems, as they perhaps are more important in a processor than the ability to directly support internet streaming. As we said, a streaming ecosystem is local to our home, or at least dedicated for our use. For example, Plex enables content to stream from our homes to wherever we are. But let's keep this discussion to our local home networks for this video. In a home, the most popular streaming ecosystems are Apple AirPlay, Google Chromecast, Sonos, Roon, Spotify Connect, DTS Play-Fi, Denon HEOS, and Yamaha MusicCast. At least these are the ones we came across with some of the processors in this review. Sonos, HEOS, and MusicCast are generally proprietary ecosystems whereby you are limited to Sonos, Denon and Marantz, and Yamaha products, which they respectively support. AirPlay, Chromecast, Spotify Connect, DTS Play-Fi, and Roon are more vendor neutral, albeit Apple, Google, and others will push their own technology over others. Some of these are device to device and popular with soundbars, as with HEOS. AirPlay, Chromecast, and Spotify Connect often use mobile devices as the source. Roon and Plex, not covered here, use servers within our home as the central connection point for content management and aggregation for streaming services. Ripewave Audio sees the benefit of supporting these ecosystems, but realizes that it is not likely that one processor will support them all. For our home, we will be interested in 1 or 2, with AirPlay for mobile device support and Roon for centralized management being the most likely candidates. The Anthem AVM70 seems to be the most aligned with the Ripewave streaming requirements, but we have to wait for the planned Roon support. If Roon is not required, the Yamaha CX-A5200 appears to offer the most ecosystem support along with its own MusicCast protocol. Like MusicCast, Denon's HEOS, also used by Marantz, integrates a few of the most popular internet streaming services, as well as providing simplified connectivity to devices which support it. We will have to take a deep dive at those solutions at a later date. McIntosh, Emotiva, Rotel, and Lexicon don't indicate any ecosystem support. Monoprice is currently supporting AirPlay as a beta. As there is 2 versions of AirPlay, it is good to identify which versions you need to support with your devices. There continues to be several choices for internet streaming services: Amazon Prime, Apple Music, Deezer, Napster, Pandora, SoundCloud, Spotify, SiriusXM, Tidal, Qobuz, and YouTube Music, to list some of the most popular music services. The processors which support them directly are only the Marantz and Yamaha, and are limited to music streams, not video. It is interesting to note that while Marantz includes support in their AV8805 specifications, their new 2020 model, the AV7706, does not. This may indicate Marantz is shifting away from supporting internet streaming services directly in processors. Ripewave Audio sees that the benefit of not supporting internet streaming services in processors. The applications for these services seem to be always in motion, and there are so many standalone devices, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, etc. to choose from, let alone those already built into smart TVs. For those looking for an upgraded experience, there are network music players and music servers like the Bluesound Node 2, the Premier Prisma, Cambridge Audio Azure, and CXN, ranging from a few $100s to a few $1,000s. For brands in this video, Marantz has the ND8006 and ND6006. Denon, the sister brand of Marantz, has the DNP8000NE and HEOS link. Arcam, the ST60. Yamaha, the WXC50, and McIntosh with their $2,000 MB50. Each has their own set of supported services, so you will need to examine each carefully. You will also need to determine if you want to leverage the external DACS some of these solutions deliver, or simply leave D to A conversion to the AV processor. If you're going to have the processor handle the D to A conversion, I wouldn't overpay for a model that has exotic DACs. When you are only going to use the HDMI out port to the processor. For those who like the all-in-one simplicity, the Marantz AV8805 and the Yamaha CX-A5200 are the only models that directly support. However, keep in mind that the UI experience and freshness of the integration may not be as good as what you would get in a mainstream device like an Apple TV or Amazon Fire TV. That concludes part 3. We continue to learn. Ripewave Audio feels that it is just as important to determine what isn't important as what is important. In this segment, we set lower priorities for Wi-Fi and services support, while having direct support for streaming ecosystem are more attractive to us. Those can also be delivered in other ways. For remote control, Ripewave Audio has yet to jump into control solutions which integrators install. For us, triggers and infrared-style commands using a Harmony remote is enough. It would be nice to explore the likes of Control 4 and Creston to better understand the value those add at a later date. If the audio experience is paramount for you, you may decide to strip out most of what is presented in Part 3, leaving just Ethernet support, which they all support. You will use an external Ethernet switch for your Wi-Fi to enable tablet-based control and configuration. For those that care about the video experience, I would next add eARC support for uncompressed audio feeds back from your TV, and HDMI 2.1 readiness or upgradability for future compatibility, along with Dolby Vision and IMAX enhanced support. 8K is a nice to have at this time. In the meantime, 8K devices can plug directly into your TV, with the audio coming back to the processor via eARC. If you are a room user with multiple rooms, room-ready assurance will help to keep everything in sync. Now the Blue Sound Node 2 is another good example option for streaming from both internet and local servers. For this round, our pick is the Marantz AV7706, as it is the only model with support for 8K, and while not strong criteria for our needs, checks most of the boxes for streaming ecosystems. The Anthem AV70 is also a strong contender in this category, with most support for integration and promised upgrade to HDMI 2.1. If you're in the market for an AV processor, what connectivity options are important to you? Please include in the comments section. Will you hold off until HDMI 2.1 can be delivered by more models? Do you aim to leverage direct internet streaming and ecosystems from your processor? Or do you offload those functions to an external device? That feedback would be useful to the Ripewave audio community. Furthermore, if you enjoyed this video and are interested in enhancing your audio experience, please like and subscribe to this Ripewave audio community, and be sure to select the bell icon so you'll be notified as soon as the next video is posted. Until then, keep evolving your audio experience.